Welcome to Jennifer with Coffee, a mindset podcast for people who are looking for real change. I'm Jennifer Lauer, writer, yogi, and fitness fanatic. Lately, I've been having lots of coffee meetups, long, honest conversations that delve into mindset, identity, choices, and habits that shape our lives. I kept thinking how I wanted to share these conversations, so here we are. Each episode moves in 3 beats: an inspirational story, an interview with thinkers, builders, athletes, and artists, people who want to share their own transformations. And we'll end with a brief meditation to practice calming the nervous system. Okay, so today's inspirational story is just this little thing that I learned I found so moving, and it's about birdsong. You know, when you hear birds singing, it's usually like a calm and peaceful feeling. What I learned was birdsong is peaceful to humans because they only sing when there are no predators around. And I just found that such a beautiful thought. I'm not someone who was overly into birds. However, a friend of mine recommended this app called the Merlin Bird ID app. It was made by Cornell University. Anyone interested in identifying the birds in their area, I highly recommend. It's a free app. You go outside and it has a little microphone button, and you press the microphone and it will listen to the bird song and identify the birds that are singing. I just got really into this app and would go outside in the morning to let my dog out, and I would listen to the birds and I'd be like, that's an interesting one. And then I'd record it and I would take a screenshot of all the birds and I would send them to friends or my husband. I find it a really fun thing to try. And I especially like to take that bird app and use it when I'm traveling. If I'm somewhere new and it's early and I'm outside and I hear the bird song, I'll identify which birds are new. And it's so funny, the more that you use it, the more you start recognizing the bird song yourself. So now there are a few birds that I can identify without my bird app. Anyway, I just find that such a lovely thought that birds only sing when there are no predators around. So that's why we feel more relaxed when we hear bird song. And now for our interview. Juliana Vasquez is a high-performance mindset coach, speaker, and certified spiritual psychologist who helps elite athletes, senior executives, and ambitious individuals remove unconscious blocks and achieve rapid transformation. Speaking in intimate leadership circles as well as at large conferences, her bicultural background offers authentic, dynamic style and leaves a lasting impact. She hosts the podcast Too Much, Con Demasiado, and writes the Blind Spots newsletter. Juliana is committed to empowering her clients to break barriers, transform their beliefs, and achieve their highest potential. Let's have coffee with Juliana Vasquez. Welcome to Jennifer with Coffee. Juli, I'm so glad to have you here. Can you tell our listeners a little about yourself and how you became this high-performance mindset coach?
First of all, so excited to be here. This has been in the making since we met, and it's so excited to see it to fruition and see it in real time. I'm Juliana Vasquez. Everybody calls me Juli as well, and I'm a high-performance mindset coach. I did corporate event planning for 15 years, massive events as well. I did, well, we were just mentioning baseball. I worked the World Series, I worked Dodger Stadium, LA Convention Center, all these big events, and I burned out. And the day that I burned out, I happened to do this amazing seminar. In that seminar, I happened to find who would become my future coach. I decided to go to therapy. I decided to go to coaching. Obviously, in therapy was like my whole world crumbled because when you burn out, it's still, you no longer see things as they are and you don't have motivation for certain things, but you know that you want something new, but you don't know what it is yet. You just know that you don't know what you lived, right? That eventually took me into the road of, being in therapy, being in coaching. I had therapists before, but I think this one was just a turning point in my life. Both my therapist at the time and my coach, who later become also my mentor, said, you're really good at this. You should totally try it. Like, you should get certified. You should go to the University of Santa Monica and do spiritual psychology. And I'm like, they're never gonna take me. Like, what are you talking about? Everything aligned. And this is me 9 years later. And kind of naively just started my coaching career. And, first were my friends who became my clients, and then my friends told their friends. And I just kept going and I kept growing as a coach. And when it came to the reason why I became a mindset coach is because I understood from the very beginning that mindset had everything to do with everything. Like, if the problem is how you look at the problem. And that for me changed everything. And also, I started noticing that I was like a lot of highly ambitious people were coming towards me. They didn't have just one company, they wanted to have another one, or they redid their career, or all this kind of stuff. It means that you're really looking for, okay, let's do something else. Let's keep going. Let's keep reinventing ourselves. Let's go through our passions. And that attracted, without necessarily much effort, a lot of athletes as well, a lot of
Hmm.
professional athletes. That's how the high performance just came about as well, right? Because it's not regular Sunday league of kickball and tennis. This were people who dedicated their whole entire lives to the sport. And I was there helping them out. So there's a little brief story how I became a high performance mindset coach.
I love it. So I really am interested in the transformation that someone makes in order to become said athlete. Let's jump in and maybe you could tell me about a transformation that you watched a client have. What took someone from one place and took them to the other, mindset wise, habit wise? How do you get someone to move from one place to another?
For me, it's interesting because it's usually a conversation. There's a lot of just conversating with someone where I call it mental blocks. There's obviously me being on the coaching side. I'm able to see blind spots on someone, right? I am not going to teach anybody how to play tennis or how to rock climb or how to do high rocks. I'm
Right.
not teaching you how to do that. That you already know how to do that. So my thing is, what is blocking you from doing what you already know that you do? I have a couple examples with athletes specifically that I think are
Right.
is kind of the ones that come to mind right away. I had the opportunity, someone he was kind of my first client ever.
Okay.
And it happened to be by circumstance. It was right at the moment that I have quit my job. I happened to be a PA for Ultimate Beastmaster, which is kind of like
Okay.
Ninja Warrior and Netflix. And I
Okay.
was I was in charge of the Mexico team. Hector Adrian, who was the favorite ones, he went all the way to almost the end. He was the
Okay.
favorite one. He was so young. I think he was barely 18 years old. He happened to lose due to an error. He made an error when he went to do a call, grabbing something to the other. If anybody's into Ultimate Beastmaster, just watch, I think it's the last season. As soon as he lost, I realized at that moment, if this kid doesn't handle it well, this can crush him for life. I happened to be right next to him the whole entire time because the more you get forward, the closer you are to being with your athlete. Again, I was just a PA. I was just starting to coach. I was just starting there. He came down. He was crushed, obviously. And we took him aside, me and another PA, and he was just devastated right away. I talked to him and I was like, hey, here's what we're going to do. You need to get changed. He was completely wet because, like you lose and you get into the pool or whatever. Let's get you changed and then we're going to talk. So we came back and we started talking. I'm like, hey, I need you to accept the loss
Hmm.
and go out full on rage if you need to. There was a trailer. I'm like, you can go in this trailer. No one's there.
Okay.
I'll be at the door. Nobody will come in.
Okay.
And you do what you need to do. If it is raging, let it out. This was a big one. You took a really big hit right now. Like, mind you,
Right.
the camera guys were crying because he didn't win. Like, it was like a big thing.
Right.
Goes into that room, that kid, like, that trailer was like moving. And
Oh
all of a
no.
sudden, he comes out and he's
Okay.
like, you clearly see he was like, angry and crying and all this kind of stuff. And then I grab him, give him a huge hug, and I'm like, "Are you hungry?" He's like, "I'm starving." I'm like, "Great, let's go to the catering." And we gave him food. And that started a relationship that lasted 3 years. And he actually became my first professional athlete. He's a rock climber.
Wow.
For many years, I coached him. He was in and out of rock climbing. And then life just so happens that about a year ago, I happened to be in Mexico City at the same time that he was for an
Uh-huh.
international competition.
Okay.
He invited me over, and I saw him for coffee an hour
Okay.
before the competition. We started talking, and he was walking into it like, "I'm not sure if I can do this," because he was going through something personal that was very big. So we had a conversation. I said, "Okay, great. How can we," and this is something that many athletes can do, how can we separate the person right now from the athlete? It doesn't mean that what's happening right now it's not good. We need to acknowledge what's happening is shit in order for
Right.
you to step into competition, right?
Right. Okay.
So we were able to talk about what really was struggling with him, right? Like what really was hurting him. Because a lot of people are used to putting, oh, let's just put it aside, right? There's a lot of this belief of like your problems from your home are out the door, from the door in is work, right? It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily work that way. You have to acknowledge what's happening. As soon as we acknowledged what really was bothering him and what was really going on, and he really was able to find what was bothering him within this personal situation that was
So
happening.
he separated athlete from personal.
And more than separated, it was understanding that he is the same person. Hector cannot divide himself into two people.
Sure.
However, he can see that what's happening in personal life is affecting what's going on in the athlete world. And
Okay.
they do combine, but you're able to separate. What do I mean by this? A lot of people think that because they're going through this, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I don't think I'm like his mindset was like, I don't think I'm gonna participate well. And I'm like,
Okay.
yes, you can participate well because you're conditioned as an athlete to win this whole thing. But because you're going through this personal thing, you think that that makes you a bad athlete. And that's not true. Your physicality and everything that you do for competition is one thing, and whatever you're going through your personal life is something different, but it's not something to put under the rug. It's something to acknowledge, to understand, to be in the process, but you're able in a way to kind of like dust your shoulders off with what's really going on, acknowledge it, and keep going with what's going on right now. But they have to do it really fast because they
Right.
have a competition right away. There's the next point, there's the next set, right?
Yes.
So with this, we were able to acknowledge what was really blocking him, which was something personal. We were able to be about it. He was able to really get deep into his feelings about it, unlock it. We talked about it, put it aside, and we're like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, here's what I need you to do. Do it for yourself. Do it for you. What you just acknowledge emotionally is huge. So when you're on that rock, do it for you, right?
Yeah.
Needless to say, the kid won the whole thing, flying colors. Something just lifted. It was a big weight that was inside of him, and he was able to win the whole competition. And I think the cool part about it is the fact that I was able to witness it, right?
Yeah.
There's just conversations that happen between athlete and myself, and I have client and myself within trying. I had another client that he was all set to retire at 65 years old, and the whole business that he sold came down in flames. So that moved him to get back to work, and he reached out to me. He's like, I don't know what to do. So we were able to get through the frustration, through
Uh-huh.
the fear of success, through the actual just anger that the whole plan that he was planning did not happen. But what did we have? We had something that we needed to acknowledge. We had something that it was the problem. And within 3 months, he was able to solve everything because he had so much knowledge about companies. He was able to move company A to company C, talk to another three freelancers, done, 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 and see he set up himself in a different way. But the anger of the original plan that he wasn't able to pursue was blocking him from doing everything. It doesn't necessarily have to have or be or do with athlete, performance, and all this kind of stuff. It's just how you look at it will be the thing that's going to block you. It's a very long answer for your question, but
It's a great answer. I feel like that's the part that I'm so interested in is that messy middle where you have this goal of something. You don't necessarily know how you're going to get there. When you're at point A, you don't know how you're going to get to B. And then when you're at B, you look back at A. Sometimes it can be such a slow burn of how you get to B, and sometimes it's
yeah.
overnight. It's between those two things. You're saying it's a mindset, really like feeling your feelings about it, going
So,
right to the meat of whatever the man who lost his job at
hmm
65 had to pivot. So he couldn't see his B. He didn't know what his B was going to
no,
be, right? But it's
no.
the same process as
An athlete.
Hector.
Mental blocks are mental blocks. There was a beautiful, it's funny, she became my client later on. She interviewed me for her podcast in Spanish, and she was like, "But how do you work with like a corporate dude and like a tennis athlete in the US Open?" Because the mental block is a mental block. At the end of the day, everybody has an ability. There's an
Mm-hmm.
ability to, like for yourself, there's an ability to write, there's an ability to also be an athlete, there's an
Mm-hmm.
ability to teach yoga. That's where I come in. I'm like, great, let's talk.
That you're like the fairy who holds your hand from A to B.
Because it is scary, because it is probably you've been avoiding that for a very long time. Probably
Sure.
you have never seen it before, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. I had an amazing athlete that I adore very much who also had conversation, and after that conversation, breakthrough. And as soon as he was done winning the game, I was outside. He walked outside, after signing autographs and doing the whole thing. He saw me. He's like, I get it now. And I'm like crying in tears. And I'm like, yes. Because you really can flip a switch into mindset when you're in the middle of competition specifically.
hmm
Because that whole thing that a lot of people do that I'm like, they don't have an hour. They have a minute, 30
Right.
seconds to reset in order for you to keep running the next kilometer.
Yes.
So it's like you have a decision to make. Are we gonna, if you even want to try what I was telling you, you have to do it.
Yes.
I'm also, as you can see, highly passionate about it. Like, I highly believe in the person walking beside me that they do have the tools to make it happen. Again, I'm not here to tell you how to do 100 wall balls. I'm not going
Right.
to do that for you. I am obviously know what needs to happen. I obviously know that you need to make sure you're squatting, you're positioning, what you're eating, doing all this kind of stuff. I mean,
Right.
I'm immersed in the language, same with
Right.
corporates and the KPIs and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, what is it that it means for you in order to do 100 wall balls right
hmm
after a kilometer, right after being for an hour and a half doing the same thing with God knows how many other things?
I do want to just say that what we're referring to, the High Rocks, the competition
Yeah.
that I have signed myself up for. We'll talk about that another time. But
It's another podcast.
referencing, that's what, yeah, that's another podcast. One thing I did want to bring up too, what you're saying about this like in between state of getting in the proper mindset is even when you know what that is,
Yeah.
even when an athlete has been in that flow state, has been in that win state, or a corporate person has figured out their next move, for a writer to write 6 chapters and be in that flow. What I find interesting is even if you know what that state is
hmm
in your life, in one aspect of your life, it might
Yep.
be difficult to apply that to other aspects of your life. I feel like having a coach, one of the most helpful things with any kind of coach or therapist, helper in your life, is that you need reminders. You need accountability. And also, like using your example of Hector, like I'm sure he's been through hard things before and he's had to perform. You kind of forget in the moment of just being human. You are key to that reminding.
You're part of the team. The thing is that there's a lot of athletes that I work with that are solo sports, right?
Okay.
Tennis, driving, golf, rock climbing, boulders,
Right.
like Hector. It's you and your mind. It's you and your brain.
Mm,
Golfers have 18 holes to lose it or to win. You can either pep yourself up or you can bring yourself down. It's unbelievable when you get to watch the actual game knowing the person. They flip a switch to win or they flip a switch to lose. They really do. You're also talking about like some extreme level of fitness, like
Yeah,
in order to endure like the longest tennis game there ever was in the US Open. So
right,
it's very it takes a whole community of people, the right people. That's why I ask you all the questions about like, okay, where are we getting for nutrition? Who is conditioning you? Who's going to take care of that? Who's going to take care of mindset? What about a manager? Athletes have to decide a lot of stuff that takes away from what they really need to be focusing on. They don't need
right,
to know what hotel you're gonna stay, or, some of
right.
them, they don't even worry about the food. It just shows up and they eat whatever they show up. For people starting up, it can be very difficult to manage all of that as well.
Do you have any advice for someone who is interested in getting coaching? Like, what would you say they should do to find the best person for that
Yeah.
niche? Do you think that you're listing all these different people that you would need, like as an athlete, which
Yeah.
hopefully someone would get some guidance in that direction? What if you're trying to reach a goal in your life and you're not
Hmm.
already associated with a professional setup
Yeah.
to get that? The average person who wants to up level their life, what advice would you have for them about finding the right coaching?
They need to like them. It, period. I think there's a lot of people that are like, oh my God. I mean, how many times we've gone to like a primary care doctor and you're like, nope, I'm not coming back there. Like, I did not like them. Or the opposite, right? I don't care if I have to fly to Europe every month to see this doctor. It was great. Like, there has to be chemistry. Whatever therapist, coach, psychologist, you need to be able to feel comfortable, feel safe, so you're able to actually open up about the things that are important to you eventually, right? There's
Mhm.
always the period of getting to know each other, right? That's why I always tell people that I always offer a free call for 30 minutes because I might not be the right person for you, and I'm okay with that. I don't want to be everybody's coach. There
Uh-huh.
might be somebody else better suited, and I'm happily to be linked with some amazing, beautiful professionals that I think that are great. Also, there's the chance that people just don't feel connected to me, and that's also okay. So I think the number one thing is if you've been curious about coaching, if you've been curious about therapists, try to go ahead and find someone that you've seen in social media or the blogs or the websites, or you saw a program that kind of start with one. I think a lot of people get down the rabbit hole of like, oh, I signed up for this and then I signed up for that and then there's this masterclass and
Mhm.
then this thing and then I'm gonna do that and all that kind
And
of
then you
stuff,
don't
right?
complete half of it.
At all because you don't have the time because you lose
Right.
interest every so often. So I would say commit to one. And then if it doesn't resonate with you and you don't finish it because you didn't resonate with you, that's okay. One-on-one has changed my life. However, I have a community of people that help me with my body, with my
Mhm.
body and my mindset about my body,
Mhm.
with therapy. There's
Mhm.
somebody who's a business coach that helps me. Then there's accountability people in my life. You are
Mhm.
someone that is
Mhm.
really big when it comes to accountability and writing. I have a friend who's really great in accountability when it comes to forming systems in my business, and he's huge on AI. I have other friends that are huge accountabilities when it comes to social media. You build yourself this pockets of niches of people that can help you in different areas of your life, but you have to try. I didn't
Yeah.
know yoga was for me until I went and I tried it for a bit. And then I was like, hey, this thing, this hot yoga thing is kind of for me. And you kind of stick to that and remember that there's always this different tools available for you. I would say
Yeah.
when it comes to coaching, definitely number one thing, you need to be able to like them and have chemistry with them.
That's really solid advice. So,
Yeah.
Juli, what's next for you? I know you have a book in the works. You have a newsletter that is very popular. So, tell the
Yes.
people where they can find how to connect with you if they want to get
Okay.
coaching from you, if
Of
they want to join
course.
your stuff. Tell
Just
us all
go.
you're at.
Of course. So my website is the place. Is Juli, Juli Vasquez, which is V as in Victor, ASQUEZ.com. julievasquez.com. The cool thing about it is like it's 100% in English and 100% in Spanish for
Right?
anybody that just happens to, I don't know, have somebody that wants to hear the whole party in Spanish. I have a newsletter there. I have a blog as well.
Okay.
And in the blog, I talk about mindset a lot and tips
Okay.
and journaling tips. And you should read this and take a look at this. And why don't you look at this TED Talk? There's a post that I really like that is called, What If Your Fear is Just a Dragon? And I link it to How to Train Your Dragon, the movie, and my insights about it and what I think about what fear is and how it shows up in our lives and all that kind of stuff. So that's my place. And then if you're interested in there, sign up for my newsletter. That's when you kind of know where I'm at, what am I doing. Probably would be able to say, hey, I was just with Jen in this podcast, listen at it here, right? And also you're able to book a call with me completely free. 30-minute call just to see if we're a match for each other. I'll be able to kind of see what brought you to even book in the call, and we can go from there where people
That
can see.
is such a good deal, you guys. 30 minutes of Julie's time is priceless, man. I think that is a great deal. So definitely look her
Yes.
up. We like to end each episode with this very important question. Julie, how do you take your coffee?
Always sweet. Has to be sweet. Like,
Okay.
I don't know if it's a Hispanic thing or growing up in Miami, but like, it doesn't matter if it comes with milk or not. It has to be sweet. I think life is hard enough to take white coffee. It has to be sweet. If it's up to me, I would say that I think I like sugar more than I like coffee. But I would say it would be the typical café con leche that comes with sugar, which is just is basically a latte with sugar.
Extra sugar for you then.
Extra sugar free. Yeah. It just has to be sweet. It doesn't matter. It has to be sweet.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Finally, to end each episode, we take 3 intentional breaths together. There will be a theme offered each time. Here we go. Let's take in a breath of self-compassion. Can you give yourself a thought of grace and love? That you're doing your best. Hold the breath at the top. Take in an extra sip of air. And exhale. Another nice deep breath in, expanding your self-compassion. An extra sip at the top. And a long, slow exhale. And our final breath in. And hold it at the top with a sip. And a nice long exhale. May you have a day filled with self-compassion. Thank you for listening to Jennifer with Coffee. Follow us on Instagram at Jennifer with Coffee and on Substack. This has been a Kings of Content production. Music by Oreo CC.